There are many wonderful homes in the UK, from cottages to bungalows, mansions to mud huts. They come in all shapes and sizes. But only one stands apart from all the others. One is mightier than the rest.
Once again, we're nosing around the incredible buildings which are in the running for this year's House of the Year prize.
The staircases all seem to be free-flying, like they do in Harry Potter.
So far, we've seen some extraordinary experimental homes.
It's confusing, but it's beautiful. And ultimately, it's your heart that tells you.
And some remarkable homes which stitch themselves into their surroundings.
It's hidden behind the wall here.
I like that. I don't want a flashy, sock-it-to-you house.
In today's episode, we're looking at a category of houses that are all down to earth.
We knew we could create interesting spaces using very basic building materials.
At the end of the episode, we'll find out which of the spectacular houses on the long list have been shortlisted by the judges from the Royal Institute of British Architects.
You know it when you walk up to this building. You just know it.
And at the end of the series, we'll learn which of these has won the 2019 House of the Year award.
So get ready for some serious eye candy. And shoes off, please.
We're halfway through our grand tour of this year's long-listed houses. So far, 4 buildings have made it onto the shortlist. Nithurst Farm, an essay in historical references that's also a progressive family home. The small but perfectly formed pocket house. The restorative rural retreat which hunkers down into its wild setting. And the dramatic shadowy black house on the Isle of Skye.
That's really surprising. Well done. Oh my goodness.
This time we're looking at 5 more houses from the long list, all down to earth, all delightful company.
These are plain-speaking, simple, honest homes. The sort of houses you'd want to go to the pub for a drink with and play darts. They are quietly spoken. But don't let that fool you. These are also brave homes that take risks. They make bold choices, but never just for the sake of showing off.
Looking around these beautiful homes with me are the architect Damien Burrows.
This is no ordinary hallway.
And the design expert Michelle Gunderhin.
OK, now this is exciting.
Now, anyone can make fabulous food if you start with the finest ingredients: caviar, lobster, truffles. But of course, the sign of a great chef is that they can rustle up something from leftovers. And so it is with houses as well. I mean, if you can take the lowliest of ingredients, like basic bog standard bricks and sheet metal, and make out of them a beautiful House of the Year contender, then you are an absolute master of your materials.
Hungry to see our first down-to-earth house, Damien is in County Down, Northern Ireland. A place of rolling greenery dotted with farms. But one of these barny buildings isn't what it seems. This is House Lessons, an L-shaped building of perfectly pitched zinc roofs over cool concrete blockwork, built next to an existing barn.
Hi. Hi, Devon. How are you?
Well,
It was the work of architect Kieran McGonigal.
when you're coming down from the road, you could almost mistake it for being an agricultural building.
That was the intention. The existing barn is basically corrugated steel on a masonry base, and the client came to us and they knew they wanted to retain the barn and to add a building onto the site which complemented the barn. So it was to be referenced to the existing barn but different. After all, it's a house, it's not a barn.
which is clear from the interiors, where you'll find a lesson in grey minimalism, all geared around the views. The house is divided into sleeping and living zones. In the living, there's a generous double-height sitting room with an open-plan kitchen and pantry tucked away. Beyond this, there's a snug. Above the pantry, there's a study with a gallery. Across the hallway is the sleeping block, also double height. There are 3 bedrooms of equal size looking out onto a courtyard. Between them is the only bathroom. There's no second floor to speak of, so you enter into a main space with a lot of ceiling.
Oh, Kieran, this space is incredible. You just don't expect this from outside. You've just got this wonderful open space. It's so uplifting.
Yes, the scale of the space kind of takes your breath away when you first come into it. We wanted tall spaces and we wanted volume. We wanted lots of space and light.
The RIBA judges admired this as an unfussy but sophisticated home with expansive living spaces. Kieran's even squeezed in a mezzanine office with a clever pantry below. Continue a few steps beyond that, and you're in the snug.
The feel is very cosy, it's very intimate, but it's still got this great height.
It's meant to be an evening room, so this is at the west side of the house and gets the evening sun through the windows, but we also have a roof light getting morning sun, so it can be used in the morning as well.
The huge volumes have been broken up with one horizontal line that runs around the entire house, white above, grey below, to give the rooms a familiar scale and avoid any whiff of the art gallery. This place is a great achievement, considering it cost about £1,400 a square metre. That's less than half the cost of the average top-end self-build. To do this, Kieran put a lot of thought into what to build the house from.
We knew we could create interesting spaces using very basic building materials. These bricks, they are the cheapest bricks we could find. They're a concrete brick.
That's clever stuff, because concrete bricks, they're not even meant to be seen. They're meant to be sort of used out of sight or below ground.
Kieran's made inexpensive materials look high-end by finishing them beautifully, with flush mortar joints and careful painting, which has allowed him to spend the real money on keeping the rain out. The zinc roof is magnificently crafted, though the glazing is mainly big fixed panes of glass with occasional openers for ventilation, cheaper than bifold doors.
The views outside to the green landscape were very important. And we recessed the frames into the walls at the sides so that the view was increased, but also that from the outside, the windows appeared like barn doors.
Those big windows, the high barn-like ceilings, are everywhere throughout the house.
This is no ordinary hallway. I mean, it's the ceiling height, the way that it just explodes up. And this wonderful datum line that just travels all the way down.
And into 3 identical and modestly sized bedrooms.
They're small. They're not generous at all. But we have created a large-scale window here to the garden, to the courtyard, which gives a feeling of a spacious room. It makes the room feel twice the size.
The couple who commissioned this house are Sylvia and Michael, who were looking to build a new home where their grown-up children could come back to and stay.
We lived in a large Victorian house and we wanted to downscale. So the brief then with Kieran was to something modest, with modest bedroom quarters.
The identical rooms, with no one master bedroom, comes from Sylvia's democratic approach to sleeping arrangements.
I was aware that the children would have left home by the time we had built the house, and I wanted to make sure that the house welcomed them back, that they weren't coming to a tiny little box room, that they were coming to a bedroom that was the same size as a bedroom they would have had if they'd been permanent residents.
Each bedroom is fiercely identical. They even have to share the only bathroom in the house. Increasingly rare in the age of the ensuite.
Sylvia, why would you not want an ensuite? Why would you want to fight with your daughter for the bathroom in the morning?
I think en-suites are more cleaning, and why would you be bothered? So to just keep it with the one bathroom, that's really all you need. And you can shout at your daughter to get out of the bathroom.
Yeah.
In House Lessons, Kieran demonstrates that architecture can work really hard for the money.
A house like this takes a lot of work. How personally invested have you been in this?
Very personally invested. We had to work very, very hard to deliver this building at an affordable price. And when budget is a constraint, that isn't necessarily a barrier to creating interesting spaces.
House Lessons makes the everyday magical. Grounded in its rural setting, but with a soaring heart and an ambitious attention to detail.
Making great architecture doesn't have to cost the earth, and nor should it. And this house proves that perfectly.
So far, we've seen one down-to-earth house, and there are 4 more to go before we find out which have made the shortlist for House of the Year 2019.
The peg tiles just wrap around the whole building.
Like a little animal there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like an armadillo, as I say.
Yeah, sticking out, yeah. What is it about agricultural buildings, eh? I love them. I like their simplicity, their honesty, the fact that they're so well detailed to keep the rain out and the animals in. So it's not surprising that so many architects are inspired by them.
That's what's happened with our next building on the long list, deep in rural Northamptonshire, where down-to-earth farm buildings have inspired an architectural marvel. There are 2 types of farmhouse in this world. Those that belong to hard-working sons of the earth, and those that belong to, what should we call them, gentlemen farmers? Those who decide that actually their home could be more architecturally aspiring. Somewhere like this. This is Hannington Farm. A rather epic rural home wrapped in the language of regional rubblestone, but which also reaches for the sky. A proper country farmhouse that's also architecturally ambitious and comfortably glamorous. It was commissioned by Giles and Polly, who have a long-standing connection to the area.
My family have owned farmland in this area for about 50 years. In fact, this was the last bit of ground that my father purchased before he died, and so it has some special resonance to me.
And it's an idyllic place to raise their 2 boys, Max and Jack.
It's beautiful, and we've always been outdoor people, and that's very much part of our life.
This rooted agricultural home is built in a Y-shaped plan. In the stem of the Y, there's a wing with a kitchen and living area at the front, and a formal living and dining room at the back, with the master bedroom suite upstairs. The triple-height atrium in the middle links everything, while at the rear is a functional wing with garage, storage and snug on the ground floor and kids' bedrooms upstairs. Then at the front left is a fun block with swimming pool, gym and wine room below and guest bedroom above.
Morning.
Hi, Kevin.
Giles, yeah?
Nice to see you.
Polly.
How are you?
Good, thank you.
Very well.
Nice to meet you.
Yeah, what a beautiful, beautiful place. This is in the
It
great
is.
kind of tradition of the grander farmhouse.
It was sort of designed as a collection of buildings that then joined together to produce the house.
Okay.
And this is the front entrance.
So that little knot in the middle of the...
Joins it together.
Assembling one house by connecting 3 apparently separate buildings is a respectful exercise in modesty, the opposite of a posh facade on a lowly hovel. This broken composition that imitates the vernacular, the regional materials and the traditional techniques all caught the eye of the RIBA judges, who particularly admired the historical use of differently sized stone roof tiles.
It's a very old traditional method with decreasing sizes of tiles as you go up. So actually, during the build, again, you're very excited when you first see the first couple of rows go up in quite big tiles. It happens quite quickly, and then progressively it gets slower and slower towards the ridge.
Yeah.
But actually, the finished result is magnificent.
It was like a fake perspective, isn't it?
It is.
It kind of melds back.
I love it. It's like an armoured effect. The peg tiles just wrap around the whole building.
Like a little animal there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like an armadillo, as I say.
Yeah, sticking out, yeah. Hannington Farm doesn't just execute traditional craftsmanship beautifully. It has some modern edge and flair, too. The chimneys are a noticeable flourish. You got some big chimneys?
We've got some very large chimneys, 3 of them.
Yeah.
It's not everybody's cup of tea, if I'm honest.
They've been called various
all sorts
things.
of things by friends.
From Battersea Power Station to sort of gun turrets.
Gun turrets, yeah.
I've always loved them.
I do now appreciate them.
The shapes were inspired partly by factory chimneys, mixing farmhouse earthiness with a bit of industrial grit. Head inside, though, and you need to leave your work boots at the door. The triple-height hallway that connects the different parts of the house at every level is fitting for a grand country house. Oh, yeah, that's something else. Oh, my goodness, you see right up to the ridge?
Yeah, all the way up.
Down a narrow glass corridor with views out to an industrial Japanese garden, you find another remarkable volume, the living room. Oh, this is big. Wow. I think this is magnificent.
Thank you. We love this room.
I bet you blinking well do.
And with the double height, we get a very large Christmas tree in here.
Yeah,
Straight up the middle.
You could hold church services in here,
Well.
you know.
Possibly.
Praise be, because this is a home that tends to the spirit, mind, and body too. There are too many choices. Beautiful as it is, I think I could live without one of those. I could certainly live without one of those. Not my thing at all. However, I want one of these. This is a gym for the soul. Although drink with due care and attention here, because this house defies the rule of gravity in places. The stairs appear to hover in mid-air. The staircases all seem to be free-flying.
Yeah.
Like they do in Harry Potter. You know, nothing's fixed.
I imagined it was going to wobble when I first walked up it.
It doesn't.
But it doesn't.
No, this is a magical thing. What holds these up is the wizardry of steel. And there's more magic and delight to explore. From the small shadows cast by the rhythmical patterns of the windows in the corridor to the surprisingly large master bedroom on the top floor. Oh, this is big. It's lovely. It's a suite. It's an apartment.
It's
a house. Because it's got another floor. It's got a mezzanine.
It has got a mezzanine, making the most of the height.
What happens up there?
Well, it's actually more of a sort of reading space, quite quiet. It looks over the northern aspect of the house, so over the deer fields and that sort of stuff.
How lovely.
Yeah, and then we've got a great view to wake up to.
Great view. Again, just slightly shuttered by the
oak.
The oak. As well as steel, this house makes use of one other modern material to help form these big spaces. Cross-laminated timber, or CLT. These are effectively super strong slabs of wood made up from lots of different layers like plywood, each layer glued down at right angles to the previous for strength. It was James Gorst, their architect, who chose it.
The reason for using CLT, quite apart from the fact it's very, very solid and it's green and it's sustainable, is you get a watertight structure up very, very quickly. And that means your electricians can move in, your plumbers, your plasterers.
That was the plan. But bad weather meant there was a series of knock-on delays. Giles and Polly couldn't wait and moved into the house before it was finished, in the middle of winter.
We actually moved in 7 months before it completely finished. And they had this barn ready for us to move into. And so we lived above it through the final months of the build. The cantilever corridor became known as the Walk of Shame, quite embarrassingly.
Because?
Because, yeah, I sort of got bored with having to get fully clothed and everything else to go along and see the boys and stuff in the morning, so I used to just wander along in my boxer shorts. That often coincided with the arrival of most of the guys working on site.
Gave them a quick wave every morning?
Yep.
That's certainly one way to motivate your workforce. Hannington Farm may seem big and grand, but this places it in a great tradition of deeply rooted, gentrified country homes. Like a Roman villa or French vineyard mansion, it connects Giles and Polly to the land their families have farmed for so long.
This place is the work of a master architect, skilled in taking the traditional and somehow reinventing it. And in so doing, what he's done with familiar materials is create also a new narrative for this building and for this place. And that narrative, which I love, is a sort of tease, which suggests somehow that nestling in amongst these complex shapes is one, or perhaps two, ancient old rustic structures that are still there.
So far, we've seen 2 no-nonsense but beautifully crafted buildings. There are 3 more to go before we find out which will make it onto the shortlist for House of the Year 2019.
We'd already done up 2 houses, so we'd learnt quite a lot.
I learnt not to do plumbing.
Yes,
So
well, yes.
If you're like me, your home is cluttered. And your brain's cluttered, so you can't even think straight. However, I do know of a building that's been designed as an antidote to this.
Our next down-to-earth longlister was created to provide an escape from the hustle and bustle of life. And Michelle Gunderhin has travelled to Devon to see it. This is Secular Retreat. It stands like a prehistoric stone structure on the hills, powerful but also elegant. It was designed as a holiday home for the public to rent by the celebrated Swiss architect Peter Zumthor. In a large communal space, guests can enjoy open-plan living on a single level. There are 2 wings with 5 bedrooms and a utility room. You'll have to check about their dog policy. The director of the company who commissioned this upmarket mini break spot is Mark Robinson.
Wow, so this is it.
Yeah.
The joy of this building is that it appears very simple.
The simplicity here is very much in how it sits on the landscape, how we've interacted with the landscape. I feel that people coming here are not interrupted by too many things makes a huge difference. I think the fact that it's very transparent, you know, you can see the landscape pretty much around you as you move through the house, adds to our well-being. I think there's something about simplicity of materials, palette, you know, views that allows one just naturally to feel calmer.
There certainly is. Nothing fussy here. Secular Retreat is basically made from a single material, concrete. The RIBA admired how, on its high hilltop setting, this building so beautifully hunkers in. The solid materials suggesting that it might be there for generations to come. They were also awed by the lofty open-plan kitchen and living room.
I mean, it feels kind of monumental.
Like standing inside Stonehenge, surrounded by extraordinary textures.
I desperately want to kind of touch everything.
The surfaces, everything is about tactility, and the zinc surfaces and the American cherry and all these mixtures of different sort of materials and alongside the concrete.
And a floor covered with flagstones of all different shapes and sizes. Each piece was dug from a quarry, the edges neatened, and laid in the shape in which it came out at the architect Peter Zumthor's insistence.
When Peter made this first suggestion to me, it's like, you're crazy. Every piece a different shape, a different size, finding a quarry that would work with me took me 2 years. There's about 450 different shaped stones on this floor, everyone cut independently, so there's no repetition at all.
That sounds like a nightmare.
Yeah, it took us 13 months just to lay the floor.
Is it worth it?
Oh yeah, absolutely. For me, it's right. It fits with the odd shape of the building.
The monumental and dark floor seems to root itself to the ground, although the roof apparently floats off the columns, defying gravity. The building stretches itself up and out, providing plenty of opportunity to stretch the mind and escape, say, to the bedroom wing.
There could be a party going on out there, but with the thickness of these walls and the door, once you shut it, you could be in your own private cocoon.
This house offers many delightfully quiet experiences, whether relaxing in a wooden bath overlooking the exquisite landscape, or sat in peace at a writing desk working on that novel. But it's only when guests fill this house that the power of the secular retreat is truly felt.
When we arrived, all I could hear for the first hour was people just going, ah, and it's sort of this slow ratcheting down of life. The building calms you down, makes you less anxious, makes you appreciate the world in a really simple way.
It was anything but simple to build this contemplative haven, though. The concrete frame wasn't made by pumping and pouring by machine. It was crafted by hand. A process watched over by the project architect, Ian Bramwell.
All of the walls around the sort of two wings of the house are constructed from rammed concrete. It's a really dry mix of concrete that is poured into formwork and then rammed down and compacted. It's not a simple process.
Making the concrete walls this way was intended to give the building character. It did take the builders a while to do it.
I think I was there for like a year doing this. There were some times I really did wonder what I was doing there, yeah.
I'm not sure he was the only one. Not only did the concrete have to be rammed by hand, none of the layers were meant to look the same, as the contractor Simon Cannon soon found out.
Well, when we did our first pour, which was this piece here actually, and we were really pleased that we'd managed to get this really clean, sharp line through here. But turned out the next day that the architect was less than pleased with that. So subsequently we had to make this joint a little bit more wavy because he wanted a more organic line to it. So my pride turned to disappointment a bit there.
Secular Retreat is a building that has wowed its visitors, although its design and relative exclusivity have got locals talking.
So you thought it was a cult?
Well,
are you the one that started the rumour of the cult?
No.
I think actually it's quite spectacular, and anything that attracts people to the village, and it's great. It's lovely.
I think the bottom line was as long as people come there who, in quotes, behave themselves and spend a lot of money in the community, then.
Well, if they do that, they don't necessarily have to behave themselves.
Well.
I love this house. It has a lightness and delicacy to it, basically because it's made by hand with an incredible attention to detail.
The choice of materials that you use to build your house with probably says as much about you as the clothes you put on in the morning. So, for example, some of us can carry off that crumpled linen look. Others really need to put on a silk shirt and tie and a merino wool suit to complete the look. Some of us, yet again, look good in anything.
Our next down-to-earth house on the long list is all the better for wearing nothing fancy. This is the Max Fordham House, dressed simply in larch cladding and brick. It's plain-speaking, practical architecture at its best. Everything here has a functional purpose. These large strips in the windows prevent overlooking, but allow views out and light in. Inside, everything is pared back and functional. but perfectly suited to the needs of its resident. The efficient owner is the renowned engineer Max Fordham, who has devoted his working life to helping buildings save energy.
I do think that the message has got to get over to the world to build airtight buildings.
And buildings that are airtight are energy efficient, which was a key part of the design for both Max and his architect, Justin Beer.
Our buildings are taking about 40% of the total energy that is used by the UK, and a large proportion of that is going into houses. Max often makes the point that fossil fuels were laid down for 4 billion years at the rate of 1 gram a second. We're burning that fossil fuel now at the rate of 5,000 tonnes per second. That is totally unsustainable.
So Max and Justin have built a home that is determined not to use any fossil fuel. A house that doesn't have normal heating. No boiler, no radiators, no underfloor heating, not even a roaring open fire.
Portcullis front door.
Just coming.
Oh, thanks, Max. Hiya. How are you? Justin, how are you?
Hi, Kevin.
Good. Come on out.
The brief was that on a freezing, overcast day, the heat loss would be met more or less by people's metabolism in the building.
Yeah.
And electricity consumption.
So
that
basically,
has to be
the
understood.
electric lights and the human beings heat the house.
Yeah,
Yes.
and the refrigerator and things like
Yeah,
that.
other bits and bobs around,
Visit
yeah.
the sun when it's available, to be near to zero energy as possible.
Wow, this is more like it. Inside this cutting-edge home, on the ground floor there's a large kitchen and living room. On the first floor there's a master bedroom and guest room. And at the top of the house, a further bedroom and Max's study. The RIBA judges admired how carefully this unpretentious house fitted into the street, hiding its extra upper level by setting it back. Simple, considered and respectful outside, just as pared back and beautiful within.
This is lovely.
The judges also commended the thought that had gone into how it would work for its elderly resident, down to the smallest details, like the floor.
I'm pleased to see cork flooring, such a welcome change from polished concrete.
And softer, that's the key thing. As we get older, our bones become more brittle. Polished concrete can be lethal. This has a softness, and that's partly because underneath the cork there's a thin layer of wood fibre insulation, so it's like a little sponge.
This is an eco-friendly, super-insulated home that healthily cushions and protects in all kinds of ways to make Max's life as easy as possible as he advances through his 80s. As we get old, it helps that rooms are really well lit. But the glass needed to provide this is the natural enemy of energy efficiency, because windows leak heat.
I know how you've railed against heat loss through glass, but this is very light and actually very, very well glazed.
Well, obviously windows are necessary.
Yeah.
But Justin has used the fewest number of windows possible, while cleverly ensuring rooms are bright and beautifully lit. Although Max would still have preferred slightly less glass.
I mean, I would have closed it off there.
Okay. Right, yeah, sure. But...
And I think I still would have.
Most modern architects are thinking, well, how can I get more and more glass in? Not seriously thinking about the consequences. How do I make it even more sort of, floating on air? Some people would say that's pushing a boundary. Others would say, well, it's what we've been saying for a long time.
Yeah, there's a sort of efficiency about this building and an expediency about it. A no-nonsense approach, and and that sort of, I suspect, comes from your important belief in efficiency.
Yes, I think that's right.
Efficiency drives the aesthetic of this place. Upstairs, Max's office is bright and ordered. The bedrooms are crisply Scandinavian. But Max's greatest triumph over wastage is his invention for the windows. Insulated sliding shutters designed to reduce heat loss.
So every window in the house has a shutter, more or less? Is that how it works?
Yes, yeah, every window.
Do you just slide them across, or how do they work?
When it gets dark in winter, this shutter should operate. Oops.
By itself, just automatically closes. That's the idea?
If there's nobody in the house, the shutters close.
The genius of these shutters is they could be adapted and fitted to existing poorly glazed homes to transform older social housing, listed buildings, all our homes, to save energy and the planet. Max's no-frills home doesn't just save energy. Its heat exchanger ventilation system also shields its occupants from the pollution outside.
The filters are in here. That is all the filthy black particulates from car engines and lorry engines and other things that are filtered out of the air before it arrives in the building.
Mac's Fordham House is a supremely practical piece of architecture, one that grapples with pressing problems, solving them for the potential benefit of us all. It's a striking achievement by a remarkable man.
It represents a really powerful idea, one man's lifetime of trying to effect change in the built environment. A world of experimentation and a dedication towards low-energy, passive house living. Now, we are in an age of incontrovertible climate change. And it seems to me that the beauty of this place is magnified by the fact that its time has come. We have only one more exquisite home to see from this year's long list before we find out which the RIBA judges have shortlisted for House of the Year. If you're not rolling in money, but you've still got the ambition to build a piece of sustainable, modern architecture, then you have to be smart. You have to be patient. You need to be imaginative to see the potential in plots or locations that most of us would consider undesirable.
Our next grounded house on the long list was built on the footprint of a couple of run-down old sheds. Michelle has travelled to see it hidden away in the beautiful South Downs National Park. This is Hill House Passive House. Two striking, elegant wooden buildings clad in red cedar. The RIBA judges loved the clear, elegant, modern vision for this building, particularly the tranquil living space, lit with carefully placed roof lights and windows. It was designed by the architect Charles Malloy for his wife, Hannah, and their 3 children.
We've been looking for land for a while.
The site here was occupied by some dilapidated chicken sheds, which when I passed, I thought there was a good opportunity to put a house on.
When I saw this, I was very excited.
So, on the footprint of these buildings, Charles and Hannah built their new home.
So these are the new chicken sheds.
That doesn't sound very glamorous. Was that your inspiration?
Pretty much. So the form is similar in as much as 2 pitch roof structures.
Presumably these are slightly bigger than chicken sheds as well.
Chickens don't need, they don't need so much head height. So yeah, we've gone up quite a bit higher.
Hill House Passive House has 2 wings. In the first, a living room that flows into a dining and kitchen area. Tucked behind this is an entrance hall and a family bathroom. In the next wing, there's a master bedroom with an ensuite, and along a corridor, bedrooms for their 3 children. Charles and Hannah weren't just their own clients for this remarkable project. They self-built it as well.
We couldn't have afforded to have a main contractor to build it for us, so we did it very much as a self-build, but employing a lot of the subcontractors ourselves and managing them ourselves.
We'd already done up 2 houses before this build, so we'd learnt quite a lot.
I learned not to do plumbing.
Yeah.
So that was
Right.
it, so,
Yeah. So know your limits.
Yeah.
Know your limits.
Yeah. Okay.
Very wise. But Charles and Hannah did manage to pull together an elegant interior. The open-plan kitchen connected to an intimate living room is a sleek, minimal joy.
beautifully smooth, and the plywood and the cabinetry. And it just all flows quite naturally, one into the other. But I can imagine you could sit here and you could still see all the way through.
Yes, yeah, so it's not a big sprawling open plan area. There's definition through the cabinetry in the middle.
It is super kind of clean and spare and quite sort of lean in terms of decor here.
We've always gone for the clean white walls, bit of colour somewhere, but the colour mainly coming from our belongings. It's kind of how we like to live.
Yeah, kind of a pared back approach.
It certainly is. Travelling through the kitchen and down a gleaming white corridor that connects the two wings is a wonderfully calming experience.
I love these little skylights through. That's kind of beautiful ways of sneaking in all this extra sunlight. That sort of paints the walls for you, doesn't it?
Yeah, that's it, yeah.
Off the long corridor of the sleeping wing are the 3 bedrooms.
So this is our youngest bedroom.
And nice, all with access to outside as well.
Yeah, so they've all got full height glazed doors.
They're super insulated triple glazed doors to keep the heat in. Hill House Passive House is, as the name suggests, a passive house, which means it uses very little energy for heating and cooling. To achieve that, the inside of the home had to be super insulated and wrapped in a special membrane to maintain air tightness. It's usually a specialist job, but Charles bravely took on the work himself with a university friend, Ashley.
Biggest challenge is possibly not knowing how to do something. I'm sure there's better ways of wrapping the inside of a house with the membrane. You don't want to have to start taking pieces of the wall down afterwards to try and find out where you're losing air through the house. So Charles and I were quite chuffed about the fact that what we had done was meeting passive house standards, seeing as for both of us it was our first attempt.
Even more remarkably, this glorious building was put up for only £250,000.
Even with a modest budget, you can still be bold by having a vision, really understanding the site, getting involved. Anything is possible.
So, 5 down-to-earth houses, unfussy and elegant. The question is, which of these remarkable homes will the judges shortlist for House of the Year? Will it be House Lessons, an exquisite, rigorous home masquerading as a couple of Northern Irish barns? Hannington Farm, a juxtaposition of 3 buildings in the time-honoured tradition of the gentrified farmhouse. Secular Retreat, a concrete, chill-out modern Stonehenge you can rent by the day. Max Fordham House, a no-nonsense home on a mission to save the planet. Or finally, Hill House Passive House, a pared-back eco-home that is just enough for its young family. The architect John Pardee is the chair of this year's judges.
So, John, we're in this down-to-earth category. What have you shortlisted?
Well, it has to be the Secular Retreat down in Devon.
It's designed by Peter Sumtor, who's like world-class.
And you know it when you walk up to this building. You just know it. The materials, the atmosphere. And it's made of one thing, pretty much. It's buttery, lovely concrete. So it's very experiential. The posh word that he would use is phenomenology.
I think the word experiential is long enough.
I cannot fault this as a house, as a work of architecture. It's just world class.
Wow, that was amazing.
Yeah.
Oh, great.
Well, you know, we tried. We tried very hard.
For a very long time as well.
Yes. So, yeah.
Well done, Mark.
Oh, thank you. Well done, Ian. And well done, Peter.
Yeah, well done, Peter. Yeah,
Yes.
Peter. Well done, Peter.
With Secular Retreat making the shortlist, there's room for one more down-to-earth home.
So this is your shortlisted project?
House Lessons in County Down, Northern Ireland. It's agricultural, but it's sophisticated as well. I particularly relish the inside-outside spaces.
Lots of very evolved ideas from this architect who've been doing this kind of work for a long while now.
Yeah, they perfected it, I think.
Yeah.
Low cost, low budget materials. Bring them together with creative flair. That's powerful. Yeah.
Fantastic, fantastic. That's great news. Great news. Unexpected, but great news. Sorry, tickling back.
So house lessons and secular retreat make it onto the shortlist. Two homes that are down to earth but also pioneering, not afraid to take a few risks. The architects designing the houses of tomorrow are going to need a bit of daring do, a bit of courage, aren't they? Because they need to be pushing at the boundaries of what a house is, what it could be. You know, the homes we've seen also have one other important quality in common. Yes, they do push at what's possible, but they also deliver something that lies at the essence of what architecture is. Comfort. They are all really lovely places to live. Next time, we're looking at houses all grouped by materials and craftsmanship, all vying to get a place on the shortlist. From up here, the vault is really something special, isn't it? Before we find out which building is bestowed the title RIBA House of the Year 2019.
You have a complete ribbon of window wrapping around your entire house.
Under 10 sack race 1968 first runner-up. We all receive our fair share of accolades and awards in our lives, but it is a rare few who are honoured with the title Royal Institute of British Architects House of the Year. So who will it be in 2019? We're on the home straight, visiting the last group of outstanding buildings on the long list that are straining every sinew to take home the big prize. I think this is magnificent. It's a magical thing. 6 homes have made it to the shortlist so far.
Brilliant. Oh, well done.
Oh, great.
Today we're looking at the last 5 from the long list grouped together under the theme of materials and craftsmanship. Oh, that's a glorious thing, like a sculpture. Later in the show, we'll find out which of them will bag the remaining place on the shortlist. From up here, the vault is really something special, isn't it? Then, at the end of the programme, we'll find out which house has scooped the great title. So join us as we size up the last few remaining contenders for the RIBA House of the Year 2019. On your marks, get set, go! So far, the homes that have made the House of the Year shortlist have ranged from the magnificent and the monumental to the delightfully compact. There are 2 experimental houses. Nithurst Farm, a playful exploration of history,
Oh, hello.
and the meticulously crafted pocket house. Then a pair of homes that melt into their surroundings. The nature lover's restorative rural retreat, and the shadowy black house. And then 2 down-to-earth projects. Secular retreat, powerful and geological, and house lessons, a modern farmhouse. In this programme, we'll be looking at a group of homes that explore materials and craftsmanship, Some are exotic and finely dressed like Italian princesses. Others are more direct local characters whose materials speak authentically of the place they're from. But whether it's copper, concrete, stone or timber, there's nothing that's not beautifully honed or buffed in this well-crafted bunch. Our first buffed house is found in the metropolis, the posh bit. In this very upmarket London neighbourhood, there is down this street a very new upmarket house, rich in invention and materials. This very fine Greek revival house is not it. Nope. To find it, I've got to lead you up the garden path. Oh, yeah. Wow, that doesn't disappoint. That's a glorious thing, like a sculpture. This is House in a Garden. Its funnel-like roof rising between the buildings that surround it on all sides. This overlooked little spot used to have a 60s bungalow on it. When it came onto the market, it caught the eye of the architect Jenny Botsford, who handily lives upstairs.
After 15 years, we found it came up for sale and thought we should really do something with it.
To deal with this tricky location, I think Jenny took inspiration from an iceberg. The funnel is just the tip of a 3-storey, mainly subterranean home. The lowest level is 8 metres below ground, with a swimming pool, yoga room and a living space. 1 floor up, and still underground, is the master bedroom, guest room and bathrooms, and 2 deep and very necessary light wells. On the ground floor are the lids of the 2 light wells and the kitchen and living space. It's all topped off with that funnel roof reaching out of the shadows like a flower. Its offset shape was computer-modelled to follow the path of the sun, bring in light, and afford privacy from the houses that overlook it. This is an exquisitely crafted building. The RIBA judges admired the quality and refinement of materials and deftness of detail.
Hi, Kevin. Nice to meet you.
And you, how are you?
I'm good, thanks.
Yeah,
nice
great.
Of you to come.
Beautiful copper on the roof.
Well, it's such a difficult shape to make. We needed a material that's malleable, that you can do that with, and it just bends as it needs to.
The copper-covered roof may be redolent of 1960s churches. Inside, however, it's all cathedral fan vaulting. And whoa, that is remarkable. This is an absolute marvel.
That view of the sky is amazing, isn't it, to have that?
Completely.
You just kind of get mesmerised with it.
Yeah. What's to make me do is lie down and just look at the sky. I'm going to do that. Yeah, I'm going to. You know, I like lying underneath domes.
Yeah.
And this is like, it's, oh heavens, it's even, it's better. It's as satisfying as lying underneath the dome of the Pantheon.
That's a good one.
You like that? I bet you would.
Yeah.
I thought you would.
The project was financed by a property investment company who bought into Jenny's high-spec range of pleasingly tactile materials. A bespoke copper kitchen, crying out for some fingerprints, behind which sits a flight of stairs lined with huge fluted tiles made of Carrara, the Italian marble from which Michelangelo carved David.
Did you go to the quarry and choose it?
We did, yeah.
It's quite an extravagant thing to do, isn't it?
I mean, it is and it isn't. I mean, if you think about this in 50 years' time, it will be exactly like this, I think. Generally, the materials here we've thought of in those terms as kind of not now, but over time, what will they be?
Yeah. You made a really good case for it. It's very compelling.
That's the
If
idea.
you're going to do it properly.
Yeah.
The first floor below ground level contains the guest and master bedrooms, where the exquisite selection of materials continues.
A lot of beauty here. This is an entirely timber-lined room.
Yeah.
With an enormous metal box in it. They're like walk-in industrial fridges, these, because of the stainless material, but actually they're so, mirrored behind. Exquisite stuff. Not out of a catalogue. Could never be.
Of course, the ensuite is also marble-lined, fit for a visiting Roman demigod, and with a view into the light well that runs down through the house.
Now, this is the hanging garden from upstairs, which now makes its way down here, and below as well.
The huge, deep hole needed to make this house was made possible thanks to the basement contractor Phil Mundy. But depth wasn't his biggest problem. It was access to the site.
Walking down here brings back a lot of bad memories of having to logistically get everything in and out of this project. So everything had to fit in this 1.1 metre wide area, so less than 5 foot. And so what we actually created was a triple-storey scaffold.
Conveyor belts removed 200 lorry loads of earth from this site. They had to use mini excavators that could squeeze into the gap, or pile drivers that had to be disassembled and brought in pieces. Everything moved at a snail's pace.
We could have finished this basement in 2 months, but in fact, because of all the constraints that were put upon us, it took 14 months for us to construct this basement.
But on reaching the lowest level, with a living room and leisure facilities, I can't help but think Phil's extra year in this hole was well worth it.
Another extraordinary, large, beautiful room with a pool.
Yes, well...
yeah, as you would.
You need a pool.
So how light is it? I mean, look, it's 10 past 5.
Yeah.
It's gone a little bit cloudy.
Well, if I turn the light out...
Yeah. But it's beautiful.
And it's a very different experience again in the house.
It's very different. This is magnetically kind of blue, this, isn't it?
And then you swim towards that light. Quite a few aspects in this house where you're taken away from things you're used to and experience something new. And that's one, you know, being in a marble-lined pool with this kind of very concentrated light.
It's not every day, is it, you do that? No. So you might be thinking to yourself, I will never, ever be able to live in a place as beautiful as this. Well, neither will I. But that doesn't matter. Because throughout history, people have put up buildings to be, well, to be inspirational, to be exemplars, to show us the way forward. And just occasionally, people have put up buildings as idealized as this, to simply take our breath away.
Coming up, the final 4 contenders for the RIBA House of the Year 2019.
Oh my goodness, that is magnificent. I mean, you have a complete ribbon of window wrapping around your entire house.
Of the 3 little piggies, I always felt sorry for the one who was building his house out of sticks. He was most unfairly derided against for his choice of materials. Timber has often been the first and the best choice of material in buildings ever since we left the caves. Of course, not all wooden houses are created equally. Ooh.
For the next long-listed house, the design expert and writer Michelle O'Gunderhin is among some slightly bigger sticks, the oaks of Chevethorne Barton in Devon. There are 440 species of oak here, so it's probably the largest oak arboretum in the world. It was started by Michael Heathcote Amory, and when his daughter Jessica came to build a house here, it could only be made of one thing: wood. This jolly wooden wedge, lined with a timber interior with an eye level set at tree height, is Greenhouse, now home to Jessica, her husband Jason, and their 2 children, Jonah and Isadora. It's even built on the site of an old wooden prefab.
Just before my father died, he gave us the house and the surrounding fields.
At the beginning stages of the design process, Jess's father was involved.
It's very sad he didn't get to see the end product.
Hello.
Hi.
Nice to meet you. So there it is. As you approach, it's beautifully concealed by all these gorgeous trees.
That's one of the things the architect wanted to do most, was to create something that fits the landscape. and it looks like you're quite high up and it feels quite sort of treehouse-like.
Unlike a treehouse, greenhouse has been built on 30 concrete piles to stop it sliding down the slope. On the lower ground floor, built into the hill, are 2 bedrooms and a family room. Then on the upper ground floor, there's a TV room at the back of the house, then the entrance hall, leading to an open-plan living dining area. On the upper floor are 2 more bedrooms with bathrooms and a double-height space looking down onto the dining area. And the whole thing has been coated in larch that's slowly turning silver, apart from where it's been protected from the Devon weather.
You can see that feels a bit like a sauna in here.
It does, doesn't it?
But there are no sweaty men in small towels. This is a light and elegant space, the main middle floor of the house, a wedge of a room that opens out into an amazing 270-degree window.
Oh my goodness, that is magnificent. I mean, you have a complete ribbon of window wrapping around your entire house. You now really get that sense of being up in the treetops, don't you?
That giddy sense of height is mirrored above your head, where the ceiling part gives way to a void that extends right up to the apex of the building. A staircase leads to the delightful balcony and library above.
We felt it needed to be opened up a bit, and as it happens, it works really well. It means that these rooms up here are interconnected, and you get a real sense of who's in the house, and you feel quite together as a result.
The glazed middle floor cuts across the building like the filling in a house sandwich, but these aren't the only views to be found. On the upper floors, the bedrooms enjoy corner views for the children, or for the adults to enjoy a soak while losing themselves in the leaves. On the lower level, the playroom and spare bedrooms have slot windows with ground-level views. And if you're not worried about a vista, then head to the narrowest point of the building and its cosy den. The RIBA jury said that Greenhouse abounds with character and personality. The personality behind it is the architect David Shepherd, who was longlisted for his own house, Cobb Corner, in 2017. He's a man with a singular vision and a deep love of all things timber.
Wood is the best sustainable material that you can have on a building. So we minimise the steel, minimise the concrete, maximise in wood.
The interior has oak flooring, birch plywood shelving, beech stairs, and Douglas fir door frames. The outside is clad in larch, which David wanted cut into narrow strips for variation. For the carpenters, David Skelly and Daniel Acton, he was as demanding as a cabinet maker, specifying 5 angled cuts on every length of timber.
So if that's the bottom piece, you have a compound mitre on the bottom with a 45, so that's 2 cuts on that one. A 3rd cut there, and a little expansion joint in there. But yeah, there was a lot of cutting involved, and a lot of fixing involved.
And there's, I think we worked out 8 miles of timber on the building here.
Pretty much inside and out, I think.
That added up to 3 months just spent cutting and fixing the cladding.
I don't think the clients actually realised how long it would take. And in fact, myself, I didn't realise how long it would take. But in actual fact, I think the end result speaks for itself.
Among all the beautiful detailing and the variety of timbers, David did manage to find a place for some particularly special wood in the dining table and staircase.
About 5 years ago, we had a big storm down here and 2 big beech trees fell down at my parents' house just down the road. And my father said, take it away and dry it, and you might be able to use it in your house.
The wood was stored for 3 years with a local carpenter and sawmill owner, Warren Hughes, who noticed it had begun to spalt, developing a delicate pattern caused by a fungal infection.
On the end of the timber, we can see that the fungus is growing on there to the black on the outside, where obviously the mould is more prolific.
Mouldy stairs don't sound appealing, but once it dries out, the fungal infection dies, leaving a delightful pattern of tracery markings in the wood.
When the oil goes on it and it starts to sink into the timber and enhances all of those marks, it's not uniform, it's not perfect, it doesn't conform to things, but I think this is real beauty.
The resulting stairs and table rightly form the centrepieces to this home and are a link to Jess's father.
He was very pleased that we wanted to live here and have a house here because it was so important to him.
And it's a shame he didn't get to see the finished article, but I think he would have liked it.
This grown-up treehouse not only honours Jess's father's legacy, but also celebrates their mutual love of wood. And with the exacting guidance of their architect, they've created a home that's completely at one with nature.
There's something reassuringly old about stone, isn't there? The most primal, the most primordial of building materials. I fancifully imagine that some antecedent of mine was skinning a mammoth with these very flints thousands of years ago. Stone lends a house a certain permanence. It means that if you build with stone, you better get it right, because it could be around for a very long time.
I'm in Monmouthshire in South Wales, where the local sandstone has weathered many a Welsh winter, and I'm here to see a new house built from this old stone. That's nice. This is Silver How, L-shaped and in two parts, the larger, newer stone section and a smaller, converted brick barn. It's home to Emma and David and their daughters Grace and Charlotte. On the inside, they needed a modern family house, but externally it had to feel more like a traditional Monmouthshire building.
We wanted to create a property that felt as if it belonged within this environment.
I'm not averse to more sort of cubist type architecture, but it's not California. It needs to sit in the plot.
Oh, hi.
Hi there.
You Emma?
Yes, I am. Nice to meet you.
Oh, yeah,
Hi.
and you. Hi, David. How are you?
Pleased to meet you.
And you, and you. Congratulations. What an amazing, solid house, So tell me a little bit about this place, because this is how old?
I think 1905 it was built. It's the old coach house to next door, so...
It's hard to tell which is the younger, which is the older building. Because that's got a tile roof and it's painted brick. This is got a metal roof and it's made from local stone.
Even though they're, vastly different materials, and it really, looks right.
The RIBA judges liked the way Silver How marries the lightness and transparency of modern construction with the permanence and craftsmanship of Monmouthshire quarried stone. And inside, the jury praised the open and flexible spaces and acute attention to detail. The new part of the building is arranged over 3 levels. The ground floor has a double-height main living space, next to a secluded snug and office. The first floor has 3 ensuite bedrooms for the family, and the top floor has 2 guest bedrooms and bathrooms. A glass corridor connects to the old coach house, which has a double-height kitchen with a mezzanine playroom. The interior of this older section has all the verve of a modern kitchen garden restaurant.
Oh, this is lovely and refreshing and light and spacious.
They removed a floor to make this big vaulted space, fitted out with a gargantuan wall of oak cupboards that in fact hides a utility room behind and a mezzanine playroom for the girls up top.
We can hear them and they can hear us,
Yeah.
but their toys are tucked away out of sight.
Yes, although I wish they would bring their rubbish down and put it in the bin rather than just...
Launching it only.
Oh, just scamper upstairs just to throw things at you.
Yeah.
So can I get up?
Yeah, by
Oh,
the staircase.
pretty beautiful, lovely staircase in oak for them. Nice space. Great. Yeah, no, actually, from up here, the vault is really something special, isn't it? I can see how tempting it is for them.
Through in the new part of the building, the rustic stone exterior actually hides a steel frame that does all the hard structural work, allowing for an expansive living room and decadent amounts of glass.
We can experience the magic of the outside in and the inside out. This one too?
And that one goes right back, and so does that.
Oh, so
one
does
there,
that? Oh, great. Oh, so in fact, the entire wall disappears.
The living room connects upwards as well as out. The chimney piece reaches up and past a first-floor walkway that leads to their daughters' bedrooms, which in turn are linked by a shared bathroom and dressing room.
This is you in here, yeah?
This is us.
Mirrors.
Yes.
And a view that way. That's, oh my word. What an amazing little optical illusion that is.
Yeah.
Astonishingly nice. I don't think I'd be able to sleep in here.
The oak trees which frame these views and surround the entire house are all subject to root protection orders, which restricted work near them and dictated the way that the architect, Martin Hall, and designer Kelly Bednarczyk arranged the building.
We pretty much had to thread the plan through a series of root protection areas, and so by creating these no-build zones on the site plan, it sort of actually encouraged us to adopt the floor plan that we did.
It took me a while to convince the contractor to take the project on, because he just saw headaches and complexity with it.
To avoid damaging the roots, a system of protective matting was laid over the heavy traffic areas of the site and then topped with aggregate to spread the weight of the diggers and cranes, resulting in a 100% tree survival rate. And a house nestled among the oaks as if it's always been there.
Seems to me that if you want to build something which truly reflects the history of a place, you've got to study in detail the shapes, the angles, the materials of ancient buildings in that place. You've got to understand the qualities of the rock and how stones layer. You've got to even dig the ground and see its colour in order to be able to build something as connected to place and as successful as this.
We're nearing the end of the series, with only 2 of the 20 long-listed houses left to see.
Oh. Wow, this is engineering to the max.
But which will make the shortlist, and then maybe even go on to win the RIBA House of the Year for 2019.
The ancient Japanese art of origami involves folding paper hundreds of times to create something of exquisite beauty. It takes really special skills to elevate something simple and ordinary into something remarkable. There. It's a glacier.
This is Warwickshire, an ordinary street with ordinary houses. But Damien Burrows is here to see a house that's taken everyday materials and done something extraordinary with them. This is Ghost House, finely crafted from concrete and steel. It got its name because it seems to be peeking out at its neighbours, as if ready to say, boo. It's home to a nightclub and bar entrepreneur who is a big fan of concrete, Steve Smith.
Steve.
Hi.
How you doing? You all right?
Great, Damien.
Yeah, good to meet you. Incredible house. It's completely opposite to the rest of the street.
Absolutely. It was always meant to be a very simple palette. Concrete, black steel. That's it.
And Steve's pared-back concrete vision has produced a highly crafted and unnervingly well-ordered house, reflected in the pools of water dyed to make a black mirror image.
The reflecting ponds were a later addition. It was supposed to initially be a wild meadow, but actually it would, by its very nature, be wild and unruly and out of my control.
I know what you mean. Nature doing its own thing, that annoys me as well.
Steve's need to control his environment is evident in the perfectly symmetrical layout. The RIBA jury admired the meticulously straight board markings laid out in the concrete. The main floor of Ghost House is actually 3 metres below ground level. At the back is a courtyard garden, then a large open-plan living area, and above is the master bedroom with a bathroom and dressing room. At the front of the house, there's a sunken entrance courtyard accessed by stairs, surrounded by 2 smaller subterranean bedrooms and a home cinema, all under the black pools. As you sink below the black waterline to the front door, it turns out this house is made of almost honey-coloured concrete.
This is so warm, it's so inviting.
It was a local mix, it was a local sand that was used, so there's almost the warmth of a Cotswold stone within the pour. So it isn't grey austere concrete. Okay.
In case you were expecting scatter cushions and doilies through the front door, it's wall-to-wall concrete and symmetry throughout.
There's a passion for concrete. I love the material and it works. There isn't overkill and it's staying true to the vision and to the belief that we could create something purely out of concrete that doesn't feel austere, that doesn't feel totally brutal, that still feels like a home.
Of course, a real home should feel tailored to its owner's passions. So head around the central courtyard and you find Steve's given himself a home cinema. And then there's the spare bedrooms where he's dedicated 2 dressing rooms to his collection of rare training shoes.
This was my indulgence. I've collected sneakers for many, many years, and this is an opportunity to be able to show them all off.
Yeah? What do your friends think?
My friends love it. I can't say the same about my parents. My mother walked out when she saw this and asked when I was going to grow up.
But who cares what people think when it's your own home? You can display the artwork that makes you happy, and even build yourself a set of mirrored stairs up to your bedroom.
This has been designed so that, if wanted, it could be split into 2 spaces. So a wall down the middle, all the services are in. Again, everything's symmetrical around that centre point.
To create this ode to symmetry written in concrete, Steve enlisted the architect Philip Shepherd.
Where did all of this start when you got involved?
It was actually as I graduated out of university, first real project was to meet with Steve, and he came with the ambition of, I want to build a really cool contemporary concrete house, which was very much a challenge for someone newly qualified.
To work with Philip, a specialist concrete contractor, John Thompson, was brought in. Their joint, meticulous work has produced a beautiful finish. All the channels and conduits for wires and fittings were cast into the concrete. Although there was a slight hiccup when one of the formwork moulds gave way mid-pour.
We had one shutter pop, and unfortunately it was when Steve was showing his dad round, and he was walking down the steps and there was a bang. Oh dear, dear.
As we're standing chatting, the shutter blew. And there was a river of concrete right across the site. I blame my dad.
You jinxed it.
Absolutely. At the very top, where we re-poured it, you can see a day joint, but I didn't want to hide it, I didn't want to finesse it. It tells a story of the build.
Ghost House not only tells the story of its own construction, but that of its owner. It is a container for Steve's tastes and passions. Not all houses can do that.
Concrete is an uncompromising material, but Steve is an even more uncompromising and driven client. His commitment to his dream, coupled with his team's ability to shape and mould his ideas, have created a beautifully crafted and truly personal home.
There is one final house to see before we find out which of today's 5 will make the shortlist. Then we'll at last find out who has won the RIBA House of the Year for 2019. The crafts are often unfairly compared to the arts, the making of the functional item on one hand as opposed to the truly sublime on the other. But while the crafted item may not have the lofty ambitions or the high ideals of a piece of art, it can nevertheless be as beautiful and as noble. Plus, crafted objects have the benefit of being useful as well. The The influence of the Victorian arts and crafts movement can be seen here in this part of suburban North London, in the cottagey dormers and chunky chimneys here. But Damien's come to see a house steeped in 21st century craftsmanship. Kenwood Lee House. Up front, the building echoes the proportions of its polite double-fronted neighbours, but round the back, things really start to swing, with an immaculately finished glass box containing courtyards, open stairs and sunken levels. The RIBA judges admired the skill and enthusiasm with which exotic and expensive materials have been deployed throughout. The house was realised by Jomek, a builder, for him and his wife Ivona. They both arrived in the UK from Poland in the mid-90s.
I got a job as a decorator, painter decorator. So I learned pretty much every trade. I was on tools for just over 10 years.
I done some decoration as well, did I?
Yeah,
on the weekend, you know, like wallpaper, stuff like that, helping you.
From humble beginnings to master craftsman, Jomek now employs 100 people, and his firm worked on House in a Garden that we saw earlier, as well as 2017's nominated Highgate House. But he's finally managed to make time to build a house of his own.
Hello.
Hello, how are you?
Very good, thank you.
Hello, hi. Nice to meet you. Nice to meet you too.
Wow, stunning house.
Thank you very much.
But the thing that stands out from the street is the choice of materials.
We went through so many materials and we're really proud of what we put together. Yeah.
And that care can be seen in the frameless glass dormers, the perfectly finished concrete, the junctions of materials, and the tiniest of brass door details. Kenwood Lee House has a basement level that contains a sunken carport, gym, games room, guest rooms and cinema. It connects to the ground floor through a light-well courtyard, up to a living and drawing room at the front of the house and an open-plan kitchen and dining area at the back. The first floor has 4 bedrooms and the top floor their master bedroom suite. Jomek and Ivona put everything on the line by remortgaging the business premises to finance the project, but the results have been worth it.
Wow. I mean, walking inside here, it's just fantastic. The level of execution, the level of detail, the level of thought is mind-blowing.
Of course, this is lots of details and lots of long days and nights, designing, changing.
The interior is a joyous celebration of perfectly selected and finished materials, exemplified by the massive board-marked concrete-lined hall, designed by Jomek and Ivona with the architects Ben and Yelena Cousins.
It's at the structural core of the house, and it enables the whole house to be formed around it.
With a house this size, a concrete middle could be dark. The way around it? Just get rid of some floor.
The 2 sides of the house are connected by bridges with a staircase which is kind of floating.
But floating staircases are not the only engineering marvels here. Down in the basement, a ton of glass literally has been used to make the mother of all patio doors.
Down here?
Yeah,
Okay.
that's the one.
And then?
You want to, yeah, lift it up, lift it up.
Wow, this is engineering to the max. How easy is that? It just glides, and the top pane goes as well.
The technological basement also houses the gym, spa, cinema room, and a sunken carport that's straight out of a Bond villain's lair. Why, Mr. Burrows, I've been expecting you. Mind you, when you're exhausted after a long day building award-winning houses, you do need somewhere to escape to.
Wow. And we're upstairs to the master suite. I mean, I can see why you put your main bedroom up here. You've got all the views and all the light out to the back.
That's right. It's a pleasure to wake up in the morning and open the curtains.
All this work that you've put into it, have you ever been tempted to sell?
Yes, we have.
That's right. We have 2 agents call and asking us to sell it. And I have to say, it was quite tempting.
Offering ridiculous money.
Yeah.
But we didn't accept it, we didn't take it.
Oh, shit. Are you okay?
Yeah, I am, yeah, good.
That's just the thought of selling this house.
It's very important to us.
It is. Hey.
We put lots of effort into it and laugh, yeah. That's why I guess we're never going to sell it.
What shines through in this house is Jomek and Ivona's unrelenting passion to build a home that never compromises on quality.
There's real pride in the craftsmanship here. And the results, well, they speak for themselves.
So there we have it, the last 5 long-listed and lovingly crafted houses that are vying for a place on this year's shortlist. Will it be the sunken temple to craftsmanship, house in a garden? Or greenhouse, built as beautifully as a piece of furniture among the oaks? Silver How, a meticulous marriage of the ancient and modern? Or Ghost House, a modernist love letter to concrete and symmetry? Or could it be Kenwood Lee, a passionate labour of love and a hymn to quality?
That's a very powerful building.
John Pardey, chair of the RIBA's judging panel, can reveal all.
What have you shortlisted, John?
We've shortlisted one project, which is the greenhouse in Devon. So it's a lovely setting, trees, pastures, water. And there's this thing, and it's got a window at the front, so you know it's a house, it's got a door at the side. But apart from that, you think, what?
Why shortlist this project?
It's original. It's all quite quirky, but actually it works with the site.
Yeah.
It creates exciting spaces.
It's a very evolved, exquisite woodland shed, then.
It's an incredibly beautiful woodland shed, yeah.
Amazing.
You're very good news, David. Well done. You're going to cry.
I feel slightly embarrassed. I mean, it's all been a bit of a roller coaster, the whole thing, hasn't it?
Yes. To have a house that we love as much as this, it's great.
So there you have it. The shortlist is now complete. But which of these will be crowned House of the Year 2019? Nithurst Farm, weaving historical ideas into modern family life. Pocket House, squeezing light and joy-filled spaces into a teeny urban site. Restorative Rural Retreat, a tranquil balm for humans and nature alike on the Isle of Man. Black House, a Scottish shoreline sanctuary that treads lightly on the place. Secular Retreat, an almost geological building perched atop a hill. House Lessons, a subtle but delightful series of quiet sheds in rural Northern Ireland. Or Greenhouse, a lovingly crafted timber wedge nestled into a wooded hill. All exemplary, all in with a chance to win. And that winner is, well, I'll give you a clue. It's not in a city. Well, in this year's series, there have been a lot of farms, a lot of barns, a lot of buildings masquerading as farms and barns. And one of them is a winner. So which of our rural wonders is this year's top dog? It's House Lessons in County Down, a seemingly humble arrangement of 2 simple joined buildings, but joined and detailed beautifully and with great care. It's an example of how someone really clever can take humdrum everyday materials and transform them into something glorious, all for the price of an average detached house. And the clever clogs behind it is the architect Kieran McGonigal.
Really? Unbelievable. Can't believe it. Really. I'm thrilled for everybody concerned and delighted to win it.
I've come to meet Kieran, as well as the owners Sylvia and Michael, who commissioned him to design House Lessons.
Kieran.
Yeah. How are you, Kieran?
Kevin, how are you?
Very well, you?
And my husband, Michael.
Kevin. Michael, yeah. Congratulations on winning, guys.
Humbling experience. It's been really unexpected, but we're really thrilled.
Well, I suppose when we saw his work online, we just really liked it. So we never explored another architect. We never went beyond Kieran.
And Kieran more than proved his worth. creating a house that is a lesson in pragmatic elegance. It's composed of two simple single-storey blocks, one with the living room and kitchen, with a mezzanine office above, and one with a single corridor with 3 bedrooms off it, connecting to a shared courtyard. All this for a budget of £350,000.
It's a relatively modest budget that you spent.
Yeah, it depends on your frame of reference. Yeah, it was certainly not every penny we have is in it, but so if that's modest.
It is when the house looks like it cost twice that. Kieran's genius lay in his orchestration of inexpensive materials like plain engineering bricks and concrete. His masterstroke was to focus on a single important junction, one horizontal line where walls meet the ceilings.
Everything hits that same horizontal. The white space above is almost completely uninterrupted.
Yes, and it brings a domestic scale to the otherwise tall spaces.
It's a simple yet mesmerising device that yields ethereal white vaulted spaces in every room, while at ground level all feels human and practical.
What I find really disciplined here is that you could have taken those cupboards back there. You could have sailed right to the ridge.
In the future, the client could increase the stories, but for now, it's as much as they could afford.
So it's not self-restraint that's forced you to limit the storage to this?
It's budget, pure budget.
Sylvia and Michael did splash out on the floor, though. It's a beautiful terrazzo, concrete embedded with crushed marble.
Our client was very keen on the durability of the terrazzo, and they asked us could we ensure that the terrazzo withstood tortoise urine.
Tortoise?
Yeah, they had a tortoise, and that was one of the big concerns about the floor, that it could withstand the corrosive properties of tortoise urine.
Whether it would stain and actually eat into the marble?
Yeah.
Wow.
House Lessons is disarmingly modest, carefully organised and enchanting. It bewitched the RIBA judges.
This was up against some really heavy hitters. Is that an easy winner to choose in the end?
No. No, as you say, we're up against, it's David and Goliath at one level. There's some big hitters in there. This one, through its modesty and its just sheer strength and its thought and its sophisticated elegance, not there. I mean, I hope buildings like this give a message. You can do something this good at that cost. That's wow.
You know, somebody once told me that a great idea need cost no more money than a really bad one. This place, of course, is testament to that, proof that for the money with which you could buy an ordinary 3-bedroom bland box of a home, you could instead build something outstanding like this, an award-winning home. All you need to do is to follow the example of Michael and Sylvia. Find yourself a great architect like Kieran and go on this great big architectural adventure. Become patrons, commission something special and make your mark in the landscape.